Capricorn, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and this is going to be a general reading for June 2025. And in today's reading, we're going to be doing a reading called Moving Beyond Illusion. And it's a reading I've done before on this channel. And, you know, if you look at the dragonfly, it is an amazing creature because it looks so fake. And I remember when my daughter sent me this picture of this exact dragonfly, and I told her to touch it. I really didn't think it was real. It was, she said it was on a telephone pole. And so her reaction was, "Ew, I'm not touching that." So I realized that, oh, it's actually real. And it didn't look real because of the eyes, the pearly eyes. And so it kind of, it was definitely an incident where I was moved to do a reading around this and think about, you know, what sort of, for the dragonfly at that moment, it meant for me. Like, if you look at it, it's like an illusion, right? It looks like it's fake, but it's not. And so I thought, well, what false idea or belief can we have about ourselves that we actually, you know, have been living with for so long? And we need to become aware of them. And I think awareness is the first key. Sometimes, a lot of time, you know, when it's pointed out to us, we'll kind of go, "Oh yeah, okay, that's true." Or it could be something that we know, that we're sitting with, right? And we just accept it. And so, and then in the second part of the reading, I want to look at what shadow aspect is driving or impacting this illusion. And so this is something that's sitting in your unconscious. It's something that from childhood, from adolescence, that you learn something about yourself. And because the unconscious part of us is what manifests the majority of everything that's going on in our life. And so when you actually feel this way and believe this way about yourself, it's coming from our unconscious, it's coming from our shadow. And it's something that needs healing. And so in the third part, we're going to look at, we're going to ask the tarot, how can you begin to heal this? So I'm not going to leave you hanging. And because, you know, it's time that we move on from this illusion and break this pattern or this cycle that we've been carrying around for too long. And then I'll also offer you something from my other channel called Carol Cares. And that'll be something a video that you can look at to help you. And it'll be based on what the tarot says. So in today's reading, I'm going to be using the Light Seers deck. I'm also going to be using Tarot Vintage to clarify. And I will be pulling an oracle card at the beginning, but I'll leave it till the end to read, and it's from Return of Spirit. So I've been using that for this month, and I really like these. So let's begin. I've pre-shuffled everything. And I'm now going to ask Tarot for what false belief or idea do you have about yourself, Capricorn, that you need to become aware of in June. Yeah, I do like this, split this deck in half just because it's so big in my hand. I'm going to pull this card right here. It looked like it wanted to come out. You have the Nine of Swords in reverse. What shadow aspect is driving or impacting this illusion? Let's see if, oh, there, that one wanted to come out. The Ace of Wands in reverse. And finally, how can you begin to heal this? Some advice from the tarot as to how you can begin to heal this. One card, please. Okay, the King of Swords in reverse wanted to come out. Now, we're going to clarify. Can you give me a little bit more about the Nine of Swords here? 1 to 2 cards for the Nine of Swords. Sorry, the Nine of Wands. Just thinking of the King of Swords over here. Couple cards for the Nine of Wands. There's one and one more. Okay, so you have the Ten of Swords in reverse and the Strength card. How about this Ace of Wands? Tell me about this Ace of Wands. A couple cards, the Ace of Wands. Okay. Just going to pick this one and leave these here. You have the Star card in reverse, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Knight of Wands in reverse. Under the Ace of Wands and the King of Swords. A couple cards for the King of Swords. King of Swords, couple cards. One. One more card. I like when they flip over and then they flip back. It's fascinating how that happens. It's like, nope, change my mind. Judgment card in reverse. Six of Pentacles in reverse. And the High Priestess in reverse. And last card I'm going to pull right now for you is the Return of Spirit Oracle card, but I won't tell you what it is. I'll try not to anyway, and we'll look at it at the end and see how it all fits in. Okay, well, they gave us two, so I will read parts of both of them, because sometimes two's better than none. And that's where I was going. All right, so Capricorn, what false idea or beliefs you have about yourself that you need to become aware of. So we have the Nine of Wands right now, and it's in reverse. And in an upright position, the Nine of Wands speaks about this individual that has created this sort of like fence around herself, a wall if you want. And you know, I'm wondering if that is you in a sense where you're having to create this wall, you're having to create something, or maybe you've done that. In any case, what's happening here, it's in reverse. So that either if you have done that, if you've kind of like, sometimes, like this is really, to be honest with you, this is my boundary card. And a lot of us, when we try to set boundaries, I mean, many of us don't even know how to set boundaries. And I was definitely one of those people that just had no idea how to set boundaries, because if you grew up in a family where your boundaries were crossed all the time, when you weren't taught how to set boundaries or how to protect yourself, you often, what you would do was you put up this wall with people because you didn't know how to set boundaries with people. And there was so much guilt that was behind it to even try to set some boundaries. And so all you knew how to do really was to like, let's put up this wall. Let's kind of isolate this person from me. And so this card can mean two things. It could be that you're sitting here with the wall, this big wall, and this is what you do with people because you can't set boundaries. You've never been able to, and it'd be too difficult for you to do that. So you have this wall that you've built around yourself, and that's what you do with people. Or it could be that people have trampled all over your boundaries, and you don't have any, and people are stepping all over you. And so let's take a look at the clarifier, because I think we'll get more information about this right now. It looks like here's the Ten of Swords here. And so the false belief about yourself is that really, like, the Ten of Swords is, let's look at the sword energy first of all. For me, the sword energy is air. It's our mental thoughts. It's the things that we tell ourselves. It's the things that we believe about ourselves. And they're those things that you repeat in your head all the time. Things that people tell you. When you were younger, you were told all kinds of things, right, about you. And those are the things you put away in your shadow or in your unconscious. You buried them, especially if there were things that people told you about yourself that you thought were shameful. They made you feel very people shamed you, and it could be something that was a good quality, you know, that it was, you know, was a very strong quality of yours, and I really shouldn't call it good or bad. It's just, it was something that was very strong. And maybe you were, when you were younger, you were shamed about something or different things. And so all of these swords right here, this tells me that there are a lot of things that you, people have told you when you were growing up. A lot of things that you continue to tell yourself. But look what it's done to you now. It's done you in. And I think there's this card kind of says, because it's in reverse, it's like you need to look at how you repeatedly say these things in your head that you have been told when you were younger, right? And I think that's why you have put these boundaries up around yourself, and it's like, so I really do think that it's almost like you've put this wall, because these are the things that people told you, and you believe them, and you continue to believe them, and whatever it is that you believe about yourself has caused you to stay away from people, to not allow yourself to get close to people, because it's a form of protection. And then you have the last card here, but the belief system is that, you know, what's really interesting about you is that, you know, you have this strength card here. You have this strength in you. So even though you're somebody that has put up these boundaries, created these walls around yourself, Capricorn, you have this buried strength, this inner strength here, and you are able to pry open this lion's mouth so that you can go inwards and start to heal some of these beliefs. And there's many beliefs here that have caused you to not allow yourself to get close to people. And so, you know, that tells me that, you know, underneath all of this, there's a real loving part of you, and that's the part that you have to be able to, you know, when you go inwards, is to realize that you have the strength to go inwards, to face some of these. That's the most loving and self-caring thing you can do for yourself, is to start to look at, okay, what are these beliefs that I have about myself? And look what they're doing to me. And so that's where you're sitting right now. You're sitting with all those things in your head that you tell yourself they're not true. And it's a general reading, so you know what these things are that you continually, repeatedly tell yourself. And so what shadow aspect is driving or impacting this illusion that you have about yourself? Where does this all come from? Where does it come from? You know, I think there may be a part of you, because the strength card showed up here, I think there's a part of you that feels like you don't have this strength. And maybe that's the false belief that I missed, you know, about this, was that you think you're not strong enough. You think you don't have the strength to, you know, learn how to set boundaries, or instead you've just shut people off because that's the easiest thing to do. I know I used to do that, and that was my thing, where I didn't know how to set boundaries, and I didn't know how to, you know, keep people at a safe space, people that would cross my boundaries all the time. And so I would just shut them off and put walls up exactly like that. And so what shadow aspect is driving or impacting this illusion? Well, you have the Ace of Wands in reverse. And so the wand itself talks about our purpose. In particular, it talks about our creative purpose. And I mean something creative for ourselves, something we could do. And it could be the smallest thing. It could be putting yourself first. And so I think when you were younger, putting yourself first, you know, wasn't an option. And the ace is usually like an offer from the universe that kind of says, you know, here you go, here's an offer, here's a gift for you to put yourself first, to go towards, you know, your purpose or what you want to do. But when you were younger, you were very much not first. which means it's almost like you felt like and that you didn't matter. And so obviously this is where I think the crossing of the boundaries has come in here, that it didn't matter what you wanted to do, or it didn't matter what you expressed about yourself. It seemed to be kind of, not recognized, not appreciated, maybe not validated. There's some real healing here that needs to take place around this whole feeling of not being allowed. Like, look at this individual right here in the Ace of Wands, and look at her, like it's almost like her third eye wants to explode with this creative idea, this passionate idea. Maybe you know what it is. Maybe there was something you wanted to do when you were younger, and obviously you weren't supported, weren't validated, weren't allowed to be you. And then this is the healing that needs to be done. It's in reverse here. And I think there's a lot of emotions around here for sure. And a lot of times, when we have to heal this part of us that feels like they don't matter, there's a lot of grief there. There's a lot of anger there, right? And you see this angel, if you put this up in an upright position, see how the angel's just dipping their toe. They're very vulnerable. And they're very naked. And they're just dipping their toe in there. Right? And this is what's required of you here. But I think when you were younger, your ability to be able to express your emotions around this, you just weren't allowed to. And so I think you learned to kind of put your emotions away. Nine of Pentacles comes out next and explains a bit. The Nine of Pentacles talk about this individual that has committed themselves to training this falcon, put a lot of energy in it. And so when you were younger, I think there was a great amount of wanting to, definitely a big yearning here, or wanting to, or maybe you did commit yourself to something. Maybe there was something, like I said, I think there was something that you wanted to do. You really, really wanted to do. You knew that it was your purpose. You knew that it was, a lot of times we all know what we wanted to do when we were younger. We don't necessarily remember. And I'm wondering if you remember here, but it is buried in your unconscious, so you may not. But there's something very creative here that you knew. This is often a card of abundance, but it's something that you really wanted to commit yourself to, like your heart, your soul was in this, and you just weren't allowed to. And then here's the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is this part of us. Knights in my deck are what I call my freedom fighters. Excuse me, and they're this adolescent part of us that wants nothing more than to go towards their authentic self, to like they'll fight to be themselves. And I think when you were younger, you had there was this real fight to commit yourself to something. And it's, like I said, it's an adolescent part. So I want you to think of an adolescent that wants nothing more than to be themselves. They do not want to follow rules. And I'm wondering here if there were a number of rules that maybe you had to follow when you were younger, and you couldn't go out of these certain rules, this certain, box. You had to stay in this certain box. And this knight, because it's been fighting all your life, and it has the wand, a creative wand here, to go in the direction that you want to go in, the purpose you felt when you were younger. And it can feel quite hopeless because they've been fighting all their life. And they often can have like this ungrounded anger, because they're so angry, because this is what, think of teenagers, how when they want to do something, they're told no. They're angry. And so they'll carry this around. And so if you're carrying around this ungrounded anger, where you get mad at people at the wrong times for the wrong reasons, and then you regret it and you feel so bad after, that's ungrounded anger. Because behind that anger is a secondary emotion. It's a cover-up for that grief that's sitting behind there, for that person that couldn't do what they wanted to do. And it's interesting that you have this this knight that wants freedom from night. Our adolescent part this knight wants freedom from anybody that tells them what to do. People that are going to oppress you. And it's interesting that here's this wall that you've created around yourself, maybe, or I'm feeling now that there's this relationship between you feeling very almost caged in when you were younger and boxed in and told you that you had to do this, or you weren't allowed to do this, and you weren't allowed to express yourself in the creative way that you wanted to. And for some reason, I think you've created this right now for yourself, where somehow you have almost like created this wall, like I said, around yourself. And you're wondering, well, how did I end up in this situation? And we will repeat our patterns from childhood, because that's how we break free from them when we realize what's happening to us right now. It's like you're repeating your childhood. And it's very important in this healing journey that you recognize this pattern of what's happening about building up walls here around yourself. And that's what happened to you when you were younger, because you didn't feel like you didn't matter. You're feeling like you don't matter right now, and you're having to just put up all these walls, and it's got to a point where maybe you realize, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. And so I think there's a real cry here for you to learn how to set boundaries and set boundaries for yourself, because people are continuing to, keep you in this cage, box you in. And I think there's a real part of you, this strength part of you, that wants you to come out and to set some boundaries. And so how can you begin to heal the shadow aspect of yourself so that you can move beyond these illusions that you have? Well, the first one is the King of Swords. And the King in my deck is the masculine side to us, and it's our ego. It's our ego self. And it is the one that will continue to almost like control you. We often think that our ego is our adult self. We think it's us, but it's not. It's the part of us that wants to keep us safe. And so maybe you've created this safe world around yourself, right? By creating these walls, these fences, and it really is an illusion. We talk about illusions in this reading, right? When we create this little safe world for ourselves, because you're recreating the same world you had when you were younger. And this king, this ego, will continue to keep you safe, right? And it's the King of Swords. And remember how I said the swords are your mental energy. And it is your ego self that will continue to tell you all these things. And your ego self is often going to sound like your parents or the authoritative figures around us. If you are someone that comes from abuse, your ego self will repeat things that your abusers have said to you as well. And so this is what this ego is right here. And so I think you have to become aware of, okay, this is my ego talking to me. Every time you hear one of these things, that's something that you heard from when you were younger, things like you're not good enough, or you're not strong enough, or, you can't do this, or what were you told when you were younger? And the Judgment card comes in here right underneath the King of Swords. It's in reverse. And so the Judgment card is a card that comes in where it's got this angel that's blowing his horn and is trying to wake these people up out of their coffins, right? And it's like there's some real awareness here. I think that for a long time you have been, I'm going to use the word sleeping. I think for a long time you've been just kind of either coasting or accepting that this is the way your life is. This is how you are. This is the type of person you are, right? Where you just build these walls and that's how I am. But that's not how you are. And I think it's time here, the universe is saying, okay, it's time here that you start to bring awareness to, what's this ego that's telling you? It's time to wake up These thoughts that you're hearing in your head, they're not you. And in particular, the main thought that's coming out here, and it's finally, I've been wondering about, if there was going to be a card that would actually help me with a particular belief system that you have. And here it is right here. This is the Six of Pentacles, and in an upright position, this is the story of a rich man, and he comes upon these two beggars here. And, he's going to give them something, some coins, some pentacles. And this particular beggar says, well, I would like 3. And so he weighs out 3. And then the other one says, well, I'll have 2. And so he weighs out 2. And so it's a matter of, how many coins do these individuals think they're worth? So if you think you're worth this many, this is what this individual is going to weigh out and give you. This is a number 6, and so this really has a reciprocal, a duality to all my 6s in my deck. And so this talks about the giving and the receiving, and it really speaks about of our self-worth, this card. What do you think you're worth? And this is in reverse here because it's time that you look at. Again, you have 2 cards, or you have 3 cards that are in reverse here. It's time that you start to look at, what your worth, your self-worth, and what do you think you're worth? I think there's a real wake-up call here for you to look at, all these things. Look at these things that people told you. These are all the false beliefs that you continue to believe about yourself that people told you when you were younger, and you continue to believe them. And it's time for you to start to look at those, and in particular your self-worth. The last card here that's come here is a very powerful card, and it's something that comes from our feminine side. I spoke to you about the ego, which is our masculine side. We all have a feminine and a masculine side. It has nothing to do with our gender. The feminine side is the part of us that has been repressed in so many of us for years, right? And this particular quality, this beautiful feminine quality, this is a major arcana card. It's the number 2, and it's the first half of the feminine archetype in the major arcana. The second is the Empress. And those are 2 main feminine energy cards. And this one, the High Priestess, represents our intuition. Beautiful feminine quality. We all have it. Intuition is our inner guidance, our inner knowing. And so there's a real call for you at the end here to get in touch with who you are, your self-worth. But you only can get there knowing who you are is by getting in touch with your intuition, because that's your inner knowing. That's what this Strength card is saying. This is the card that's saying it wants you to go inwards, because when you go inwards and you start to heal all of these things that were, that you weren't allowed to do, these things that you were told when you were younger that you weren't allowed to do, and there's something there for you. Believe it or not, in our shadow, we bury not only these ugly things that we don't like about ourselves, that we were shamed about, we also bury gifts underneath all of that. But we got to get to our intuition. And in order to get to our intuition, we need to be back in our body, because our intuition isn't up here. We don't get to know who we are from up here, right? All those thoughts we keep telling ourselves, that's that sword energy. We got to go in, and we got to get in touch with who we are in our inner guidance, our intuition. And in order to do that, we need to get grounded. We need to get back in our body. So I'm going to leave you, Capricorn, with a playlist on how to ground. And I take you in my backyard and I show you how to ground. And that's how I ground myself daily. So I can get in touch with my inner guidance. And I'm going to read, you have a couple of cards. So, let's look at both of these. And like I said, I'll just read a bit of each. So your first one is called, not sure what comes first, but we'll just start reading this one, is called Contact. Life's great synchronicities and the alignment of fateful events is very dependent on our contact and connections with other people. You have drawn this card today because it is important for you to make contact with someone in particular in your life. This one-on-one communication could be by phone, email, text message, or in person. In whatever way that contact happens, it is important that you reach out. Sometimes we resist or procrastinate doing the very things that will help to move us along our path. The contact card is asking you to look at whatever resistance you may have and gently push yourself forward to do what needs to be done. Wow. This person can also indicate there's a very important person that's coming along in your life with whom you are about to connect. Be present within yourself when meeting anyone new over the next week or two, and be mindful of the energy surrounding anyone you contact with. I mean, if that is you and you know that you're having to contact somebody by phone, by email, text message, whatever it is, this person, that can bring up so much of what I've been talking about, this unworthiness. If you're sitting with this unworthiness and you have to do that, that can bring up so much fear in you. And there's a lot of healing that needs to be done around that. I'm going to read the next card, and it is called, let's see what else this might say about your situation. Remember, this is a general reading, so you take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Don't make it try to fit. This is up. Time to lift your eyes off the ground and start looking up towards the heavens. This kind of reminds me of this Judgment card, right? Of waking these people up. This world needs you, the real you. Low self-esteem and self-worth is impeding your perception of whom and what you really are. I mean, I can't say this any more. Like, this is exactly what this reading has just said at the end here. It's also affecting your ability to put yourself out into the world. You know, especially if there's a phone call here or something that has to be made. There's a whole other life waiting inside of you. That's your Strength card. Crying to be lived. The only thing standing in your way is you. There is nothing your guides and angels want more than to see you step into the truth of who you really are. Wow. 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 I can see why both of these cards were for you. Capricorn. There's something here for you. There's something that's wanting to come out, and maybe you know what it is, but you also know that you're very blocked and you've maybe created these walls. And I think it's time now that it's time to start healing. It's time to get back into your body and start feeling. That's how we heal. Feeling, you know, what was told to you. Grieving this unworthiness right here. I want you to have compassion for yourself, Capricorn, for what you're working through this month. This is definitely, the healing journey is the most difficult journey of your life, but it's the most important one. So take care, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye.